Good afternoon, everyone. I'm back again after a week of lagging behind, but today we have a juicy and nice story again from the De Boer Foundation. I'm here again to tell you about this little picture I have here. A wonderful little picture by a painter called Wtewael, which we write with a W, but Wtewael from around 1600. This picture here is from 1610 and represents a very, very, very juicy story. It is the story of Venus that we have here and Mars. Let me introduce you the characters. Venus, of course, everyone knows Venus is the goddess of beauty, the goddess of, the fertility, and also about everything that matters when it comes to love. A nice little detail about how Venus is born. Actually, most you know probably the painting by Botticelli, The Birth of Venus, in which you see her approaching on a shell. That is actually not the birth of Venus. It's Venus arriving at Cyprus. Venus is actually born, and this is a fucked up story. Her brother cut the testicles of her father, Uranus, and threw them in the sea. And the foam of the sea and the semen coming from those testicles created Venus. That's a fucked up story, I know. And Venus, the goddess of love, was married to a rather boring man called Vulcan. Vulcanus, the god of forging and fire and weapons, but a rather stable, stupid, boring old guy. What she really fancied was this guy over here. This is her brother-in-law. This is the brother of Vulcan, and this guy is named Mars. And this is the moment that is one of the juiciest moments in art history, because Venus here is having a ball because she thinks that Vulcan is on a voyage. He's on, let's say, a business trip. And here, Mars, that we see here, is approaching Venus to have some action going on, something that the boring old Vulcan can't provide. And we see it's filled with all these details that show us the lust of Vulcan. Look at this dagger that we see here. The dagger is there for a reason, because the dagger is, of course, a metaphor for the penis, a metaphor for the flaming lust that Mars has for Venus, who is here entrapped and entangled by the almost Me Too-ish hands of Mars, and she is holding a cup of wine. Actually, this is quite illegal what Mars is doing, because as the old Roman poem says, without wine, without Bacchus, Venus is just a boring lady. So with the wine, Venus becomes loose, and there's action, and the action is actually more pointed here by the little Cupid that we see here, the Cupid that is pointing the arrow to the bare chests of Venus, and also actually igniting the lust of Mars with that penis-like shape of the sword that he has over there. It's a wonderful, wonderful painting, and these paintings were in the 17th century. This is 1610. These were considered pornography. They were collected by the highest and the highest of ranking people. We know that the Holy Roman Emperor, like Philip II, he loved the paintings by Wtewael, and Wtewael was a painter who also painted in this mannerist style. We see all these exaggerated bodies and all these elongated shapes twisting and turning into each other, and he loved to paint these on copper. Let me show you the back of the picture, because as you see here, this is a copper plate. So while using the copper plate, you can do these wonderful, wonderful detailed brushstrokes, and these paintings were often hidden behind little curtains. So you have your friends over at home, and rather than playing a porn DVD, you enjoyed them and taking you to this most secret room, maybe your boudoir where your bed would have been. You take the curtain off, and there she is, Venus inviting Mars for a little bit of the old-fashioned hanky-panky. This would not go well, of course, because what we don't know is that just after this scene, Vulcan isn't on a business trip, and he actually casts them into a net made of iron to shame them for all the gods, and we are the gods because we're looking at them, who are smiling at them and ridiculing them. So you're part actually of this story. And Wtewael is one of the best painters from the beginning of the 17th century, truly revolutionary. The painting that I'm holding here is maybe worth, with the current market, 4 to 5 million euros. One of them was actually just bought by the museum in Utrecht, the Centraal Museum. So I'm terribly honored to have it here in my hands. But if you enjoy it from close up, and that's the way these Wtewaels should be enjoyed. A rich person would have this in his hands and enjoy all the lovely details of this very, very, very naughty story of Venus, born from this disgusting story about the testicles of Uranus given to the brother of her husband. Quite fucked up, isn't it? The Greeks, you gotta love them.